Welcome to What's a Beautiful Life Anyway? I'm your host, Jill Bennett. This is the channel that shares ideas to help you live your best life, because life can be beautiful if you live consciously. Welcome to this week's edition of What's a Beautiful Life Anyway? I'm so delighted this week to have my lovely friend Jen with me. Jen Thomas is an intuitive coach based in the UK, but does work with clients all over the world. Hi, Jen.
Hello, my love. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your show. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I've got a bit of an expert here. We'll talk about that a bit later on. So, Jen, you moved into this wonderful woo-woo world after a career in marketing. What made you do such a huge switch?
It's such an obvious leap, right? So, look, it's a great question because I was in that corporate marketing career for over 20 years, which served me really well. And I learned a lot and met some amazing people. But ultimately, there was something much deeper going on, and there was a much deeper calling within me that it became a scream, and it started off as a whisper, but became a scream in the end, of saying there has to be more to life than this. I feel and know that there is something bigger than me, and I also feel and know that I'm meant to be contributing to it in some way, and I'm not doing it in this corporate career.
And it's so true, isn't it? There is, how many of us, especially women, are in that corporate role year after it happened to me, and you think, what am I here for? Is this it? Is this all life's got to offer me? And ultimately, when you get in touch with your inner wisdom, you know that you're in the wrong place. If you're not loving your job day in and day out, you're in the wrong place. Life is too short to be miserable and to keep on plodding on in that job. Why is it that so many people are so afraid to get in touch with their own inner woo-woo? I love the word woo.
Well, yeah, me too. Love a bit of woo,
Yes.
as we say. I think there are lots of different perspectives, but I think probably the two key ones are mostly because we are conditioned and taught to only believe in things that we can see with our physical eyes, touch with our physical hands, and hear with our ears, which is a very five sense perspective. But actually, we as human beings are multi-sensory. So we do have the ability to see and feel in different ways. So that's the first one. And and we're not only are we kind of taught to trust in only what we can see and feel, but there's a bit of ridicule around the woo, and I get that. It's a fear-based energy, and that I get it. I used to be very what's the word I'm looking for?
Skeptical.
Thank you. That's exactly the word. I was trying to say it, like the word kept coming, was suspect. I was like, that's not it.
Now my own intuition told me that. So
there you go. Perfect. And I think then the other aspect of why people, don't look and don't embrace it is because they don't understand it. And so there's a fear around it. And it certainly was when I, opened up into my woo-woo abilities. It was scary, It was like I didn't know what I was inviting in and what I was going to experience. But soon became so utterly fascinated that it became exciting and magical and beautiful and awesome.
Before I understood any of this, I remember loads of people coming into work when I was in the corporate world and saying, oh, I've had a reading with this woman in Covent Garden. And this woman was supposed to be, she'd been on TV, all this sort of thing. So I thought, oh, well, I'll go and see her. And I walked in, it was a sunny day, I had a beautiful green dress on, and I was a civil servant. managing a team, doing all sorts of things. And I walked in, and the first thing she said was, "Oh, are you cabin crew?" So immediately you think, oh, just because I look, blonde hair, nice dress, made up. I went,
Wow.
no. And she then went on to say she could see me in all these different airports all over the world. And I thought, strange. Maybe I'm going to meet a millionaire and go off on all these lovely holidays. I think at the time I was sort of late 20s. Anyway, as it happens, a couple of years later, I got a job with the Foreign Office, and I used to audit British embassies and high commissions all over the world. And I was in different airports all the time. So it is incredible how they can pick up on things, and it may not make immediate sense to you at the time, but just remember, because she also said she could see me being driven around in a red car. And when I started going out with my husband, he had a red car, and we're still together
Oh,
30 years
me.
later, so
Yeah.
anyway, sorry, less about me, more about you.
No, it's just magical. I love it.
Yeah, it is great, isn't it? So I mean, we're talking about, people being afraid to get in touch with their inner woo-woo, but a lot of people don't even realize that they have some sort of psychic ability, but we all do. Why do you think some people just don't acknowledge it?
I think, it's partly to do with that fear element again, but I think it's also our interpretation of, what we perceive somebody with psychic ability to be.
Yeah.
So, we traditionally perceive that person to be able to see into the future, and some people can, as you just explained. Or, we perceive them to be, like an old lady with like a crystal ball, or we perceive it to be, talking to dead people,
Mm.
which can feel scary and a bit weird and like, oh, I'm not like that. But the truth really is that there is, as with any subject matter, there is a huge scale and spectrum to, the world of woo. And for me, its basis is in feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
Our intuition is a feeling often. There are several different, well, 5 different kind of clairs. So CLAIR. So clair is clear. So you might be clairvoyant, clear sight, or claircognizant, which is clear knowing. So there are many different aspects, but at the very basics is our ability to feel and our emotions. And that is woo. You
Yeah.
are, because you can't see an emotion, it has a vibrational frequency to it. It's like a radio wave. You can't see it, can't hear it. Some people can, but we feel it. And I think through our education, where we've been very much taught about logic and rationale based thinking, facts, figures, and the science aspect, which has its place, we've forgotten to trust what we feel, and we've forgotten to connect with how we feel and what that means for us, and for me, that inner woo is recognizing that your feelings are your most powerful guide.
At the most basic level, we all get that gut feeling sometimes that we should or we shouldn't do something. And how often do we ignore it? And then whoever did it had something good, or we did it and something bad happens when your gut feeling is telling you not to do it. So at the most basic level, if people start to just focus on that a bit more, they could develop that and go further.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Very much so.
Well, Jen, you help business owners work with their own inner wisdom to clear the sort of bullshit stories that we tell ourselves, and help them create crystal clear strategies for success. So how do you do
that? Not overnight. It's probably the short answer. But yeah, so I'm a spiritual mentor and coach. So because I trained as a coach and NLP practitioner, I really look at the mindset, and that's those bullshit stories that we tell ourselves that, stem from quite often events and experiences in our formative years There could be trauma in there as well, which informs our values, our beliefs, and the stuff that we tell ourselves. But they are just stories, and they very often hold us back. And when we're running our own businesses, or even, just managing a team in the workplace, you have a responsibility. And if you are not dealing with those bullshit stories, and you're just letting them, run amok, essentially, they will be the leaders in your life, and they will create, the crap around you. So I teach how to access that, and how to do that, and how to start connecting with how you feel and what you feel, and to connect with the energies around you. So your spirit guides, your guardian angels. I do an online course in my Soulpreneurs Club program, which isn't open at the moment. It will open again in January, I think. But yeah, I mentor these business women for a year, helping them to access their intuition, grow it, and heal from those bullshit stories, and set them free.
And probably all have much more successful businesses as a result of that.
Absolutely.
So is there a simple way that we can get in touch with our own inner wisdom?
Yeah, it's really simple. The action of it is really simple, at least. So, and the first thing is to slow down. Certainly when I was in that corporate place, we as human beings are going so fast, trying to do so much, that we don't have time to think about how we're feeling. Somebody says, you haven't seen for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or whatever, and you ask them how they are, and they're like, oh, great, thanks, how are you? And it's such a formality. There is no truth to that part of the conversation at all. Because we're going so quickly, there's an element of, we don't know how we feel, but there's also our subconscious saying, I don't want to know, because then I'm going to have to do something about it. So the first thing is to slow down. And actually, there are two really simple ways. If you're just at your desk, and you can't get away from it for whatever reason, just breathe really deeply. Like, I visualize breathing light all the way down into my heart center. I feel the floor beneath my feet supporting me. I just breathe really deeply, because most of us are breathing like in the top part of our lungs, right? But actually, when you breathe all the way down to your belly, all the way down to your feet, it is a very connecting experience. I even looked up on Google the other day the Latin meaning of spirit, or spiritual. And it is the Latin word for breath.
Wow.
So breathing is the first one. The second one, if you've got more time and you have the accessibility, is to be out in nature. That is how I recovered from my burnout when I left corporate, and it is how I connected back to feeling again, and all the emotions, not just the good ones. We can't cherry pick what we feel.
No, as nice as it might be, we can't.
So nature, be outside in nature. If you're walking, you're slowing down anyway. And you can just be yourself. Nature will accept you exactly as you are.
And the breathing is so true, isn't it? If anyone is stressed, you can just watch them breathing here. That short shallow breath, shoulders like that, and to relax and to sleep at night and all this sort of thing. It is just really focusing on your breath, as you say, listening, feel it go all the way down, and then you can feel the cool air going into your nostrils and warmer air coming out, so that your mind is less likely to get distracted. It's it is difficult sometimes not to let your self get distracted, but you can keep trying. And it is
Yeah.
just a case of trying, keep coming back to the breath and continuing that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jen, we all have personal guides, don't we, in our lives?
Hmm.
How can we get in contact with our own?
Yeah, awesome question. It's like, it's quite often the first question people ask me, Jen, have I got a guardian angel, and how do I connect with them? So the answer to the first question is yes, without a doubt. Everybody has at least one angel working with them. It's they've been with you since the beginning of your soul creation. So they're always there 24/7. And how do you connect with them? So for me, it's through meditation. And it is just that breathing exercise to create stillness and to create space. And I have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I get over myself at how bonkers that sounds. I just do it because the reward and what you receive is so worth feeling like an idiot for 5 seconds,
Yeah.
So I might say something like, thank you, guardian angel, for coming in close and reminding me of your presence. Or I might say, thank you, spirit, thank you for connecting with me and revealing to me what I need to know.
Yeah. And asking a question sometimes.
Yeah.
I've asked mine questions before now when I've really been overwhelmed by something. And I'll sort of say, oh, please, help me. What can I do about this?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll
Yeah.
usually get some sort of message coming through, or something will happen that, you realize it's a message that's been sent.
Exactly. And, I think, you've highlighted the most important thing there, is that your guides and angels cannot help you unless you ask.
Yeah.
It's spiritual law 101.
Yeah.
They're there to support you, and that they can kind of break that rule if it's to step in to save your life, for example. But on everyday stuff, you have to ask.
Yeah.
And that's why I start with thank you for helping me
Yeah.
with overlighting this situation, or connecting me with the people and resources I need to help me here.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's brilliant. Now, you were selected in 2018 to do a TEDx talk. I mean, that's just so exciting.
So exciting. I
And
can't tell you how surprised I was.
how does that work? Do you have to apply for it?
Yeah, well,
Ah,
yes, yeah. And interestingly, now, I never shared this at the time, and I certainly didn't share it when I was on stage delivering it, but it was my guides that gave me that speech.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
and helped me with the application and everything.
Brilliant. Well, you've had this morning, as of this morning, 1.32 thousand views. So 1.33 million views, which is just incredible.
That is
Absolutely incredible.
incredible.
And we're going to post the link to that. So if anyone wants to watch Jen's talk, which is called Putting Emotion Back into Business, you'll be able to do so, because I'll put a link in the show notes. Was it really nerve-wracking to be up there on the TEDx stage?
Yeah. I I deployed all of my own tools to help me, which did help. But yeah, ultimately I just stood on that red spot, and as I stood on that red spot looking out at the live audience, because it's recorded in front of a live audience, right, I suddenly had oh my god, I'm stood giving a TEDx talk. Wow. I'd better get it right then.
And it's very precise, isn't it? It can't be more than 20 minutes long, and blah 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 blah. So did you memorize it?
Yeah. So on a TEDx talk, you're not allowed notes on the stage. Yet on a TED talk, which is the big, huge, celebrity style ones, you are allowed notes. So if you've ever watched Brené Brown on one of her TED talks, she's holding notes, but on a TEDx, nah.
Gosh. Now you see, on an Arbonne stage, if you're chosen to speak at one of the Arbonne conferences, some of which have as many as 18,000 people in front of you, you have an auto cue.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So And when it's a TEDx talk, you've obviously submitted what you're going to talk about, so you can't change it
No.
either. And I'm a great one for winging it. My public speaking, I love speaking from the heart, and
Yeah.
performing. But this was different. So I presented it to, I was a member of Toastmasters, so I presented it to my Toastmasters group, which was massively helpful. I presented it to every photo in my house. I presented it out. I was out walking every day and presenting it to the trees. and driving up. So I gave it in Telford. So driving from Surrey up to Telford, I presented that speech to the M6. It must have been 150 times.
But that is, practice perfect. Practice makes perfect. It's definitely the way to go. It's definitely the way to go. Well, that's amazing. So you should all check out that. I've watched it, and it's well worth watching it. Is it possible for corporations to make it a joy to work with them?
Yeah, very much so. And I truly believe that. And it is because corporations are made up of people. And we are on from whatever walk of life we've come from, whatever our experience, whatever our personality, our core being comes from a place of love. And we are all connected to that love, kindness, and compassion. We see it time and time again in humanity. When there's disasters, we pull together, we support and love and help each other without question and without expectation of return. So on corporations that are founded on values of love, kindness, and compassion, absolutely, I think it can be an absolute joy working together. I remember being in one of the jobs in my career where we referred to each other as family, and that was a beautiful place to be. So it's absolutely possible, but, and here's my great big capital lettered but, it has to come from here, the heart space first. The logic, the numbers, and the money has to come second.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think sorry, just having a cough there. No, you're right. And so many corporations get it wrong because they're so focused on profit. I know I run my business through Arbonne, and they're a B certified corporation. So everything to do with their staff, those of us out in the field, and the planet all comes before profit. It's all about being kind to everybody in the environment. And I know staff there get a chance to make a vision board and have it behind them at their desk. So every day they can see this vision board that's sort of saying what they want for the future, and they can do their own little bit of manifesting, which is great.
Which is just brilliant. What an amazing environment to be working in, where your dreams are taken seriously. And supported.
And supported, and that's a big thing, isn't it? Now, Jen, you have very excitedly made an announcement earlier today about a book. So tell us more about that.
Oh, thank you. 2 hours ago, I announced in my Facebook group, Soulpreneurs Sanctuary, I announced a book that I'm writing. It's very nearly finished, called Nature's Wisdom. And it is, so I communicate with nature through that heart connection. And I have received messages from nature on how to grow my business, on how to live an inspired life, on how to connect with the universe, on how to love and accept myself more, how to heal myself, and create a vision of a world where humanity is in perfect harmony with nature and recognizes itself as part of nature, not separate to it. It is a book about healing yourself and loving yourself rediscovering yourself, your true self. And I believe it is our book. It's not my book, it's our book. So I announced in my group and shared with them, like, this is our book. And I shared the vision that I had whilst writing a few of the chapters in the book, and it was of a man. The vision was of a man sat on a train in a grey suit. He was reading the book and he was crying. The sense was he did not want to go to the job he was going to. He was deeply unhappy, and in that moment was considering taking his own life. And the vision I saw was that as a result of reading the book, he saw a different path, he saw a different choice, and he stepped off that train and walked away to live his life. So that's why, that's why I had to announce it, bringing people back to love and connecting with nature as a part of that. And I released a free chapter. The first chapter is available through that group as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, maybe we can put the details of those up in the show notes so people can join the group, get the free chapter. And so the group is the Soulpreneurs group.
Yes, it's called Soulpreneurs Sanctuary.
And there's lots of other great messages in there and bits and pieces in there that people can tap into.
Absolutely, yeah. I give free business guidance every Monday, and I post in there very regularly, helping you to look at different aspects of your world to help you to heal, shift mindset. And of course, there's always great conversation between, there's 528 people in there, I think, as of this morning, who are all there supporting each other. It's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. Well, we will post all the details up about that too. And you can connect with Jen on social media, all over the place, but we'll put lots and lots of links up for everyone to have a look at. And I'm just looking I haven't looked at my picture much because I've had notes on the screen, and I can now see that big thing outside that my husband's got covered up in a blue sheet. So not a very nice background. I should have just popped the Venetian blind down and it would have covered it, but never mind. This is real life, guys.
Yeah. It's called being human and authentic, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So Jen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it.
It's been lovely having you here, and I'm sure we'll get you back when your book's ready.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to this week's show. Check out all the links to the resources mentioned in today's episode and all my freebies in the show notes. See you next time.